Hello, my name is Matthew Pfeiffer with mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Welcome to my YouTube channel. On this channel, I create videos and content about toxic, narcissistically abusive relationships. And if you have a question that you'd like for me to answer, make sure you send it to justaskmatt at mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Again, that is justaskmatt at mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Just make sure you keep that email 2 to 3 paragraphs max. And you're also very direct and to the point of what your question actually is. If it's too long, if it's too lengthy, unfortunately, I will not be able to get to it. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe notification and the bell notification so you're notified each and every time I upload a new video. And if you would like more one-on-one attention, you can always go to the links in my bio, or you can also subscribe to my YouTube membership. I have several different trainings, several different courses. You get discounts on other things, other services that I provide. There's different tiers and different levels that you can go to that might fit better for you. So make sure you check that out as well. With all that being said, let's get into today's email. And so today, this email is in regards to a person whose husband won't set boundaries with their ex to a point where this person's ex is crossing over a lot of boundaries and is making this person feel very uncomfortable. So let's get into this email. Let's break this down, and hopefully we can help this person out, and we can also possibly help out other people who are going through a similar situation. So this email reads, hey, Matt, am I the asshole? So if you are familiar, especially if you follow me on YouTube, you know that I started a new series, Am I the Asshole? I read a lot of people who are going through different things and are questioning whether or not they're the problem or not. And so this person is asking that question, but on TikTok, when I'm reading those, I'm reading it from Reddit. I'm not reading it from anyone who's writing into me. So am I the asshole because I refuse to talk to my husband because he refuses to set boundaries on his ex to respect our marriage? So let's pause there for a second. Let's break this down for a second. So I never encourage anyone to, outside of when we're ending a relationship, I never encourage anyone to not speak to someone, to give the silent treatment. Is it okay to walk away from a conversation, to gather your thoughts and to process your emotions? 100% it is. But to start giving someone the silent treatment, even if we are upset, that part isn't okay. But I'm going to break down, but what's happening to you also is not okay. So let's break this down a little bit further. I'm going to read further. I wanted to break that down pretty quickly. So she likes to call him late at night. And recently she ended the call by telling him that she loves him. Right. So this is very concerning. Right. So I wanted to validate that that would be very concerning to most people. I understand that it's okay for people to be cordial. I encourage people to be cordial if at all possible with exes. But the fact that this is bothering you and the fact that you've mentioned it to him, right? Obviously it's a problem. So this email continues. I'm very upset because he uses my ex to try to justify her actions, but my ex isn't calling me late at night. So your ex is respecting boundaries, respecting the fact that you're in a new relationship, which is great, which goes back to what I was talking about in terms of being cordial with an ex, right? And so being cordial means that we are all able to basically play nice in the sand because guess what? Everyone is able to respect each other's boundaries, but clearly this person is not, and your husband is lacking that ability to be able to do that for whatever reason. I cut my ex off once the conversation stops being about our son, which is very good, which is something I encourage people to do. So one of the things that I wanted to bring out, let's circle back to the silent treatment that you're giving him. That doesn't work, right? It's unhealthy for both you and for your husband. So, but now with all of that being said, I don't agree with the behavior that you're experiencing either, right? So I want to validate your feeling. And so one of the things we have to begin to do, there's a lot more boundary violations happening here than just his ex. Also the boundary violation that's happening is between you and him, right? The fact that he is refusing to protect your marriage and to protect your vows and protect and to make you a priority. I'm sure you feel like you are not a priority in this situation. He would rather protect his ex's feelings over his current wife's, which is very concerning and very problematic. I wouldn't encourage for you to give the silent treatment, because the silent treatment actually starts to affect you too. What happens is that resentment starts to boil over. And what happens is that when we give the silent treatment, not only does it have a negative impact on the other person and has more of a potential of pushing that person away because we're ostracizing. It's a form. Am I saying that you're doing this maliciously? You may not know any other form of communication. I'll get into that here in a second. But quite often we don't realize that how damaging the silent treatment actually is. It can actually cause more harm than good. So we want to continue to have open lines of communication as long as we possibly can. However, at some point in time in this situation, this is significant enough that we have to get past setting boundaries. A lot of times, even on my channel, we talk a lot about setting boundaries. At some point in time, the boundary has to be enforced. I'm going to give you an example. We actually have boundaries, examples of boundaries all around us, right? One of my favorite analogies to use to kind of to describe setting boundaries versus enforcing a boundary is the speed limit, right? If the speed limit is 55 miles per hour, guess what? The speed limit is 55 miles per hour. Everyone knows what happens if you get caught going over, right? There might be some flexibility if you're going 5 miles over, right? The police officer might allow for you to just slide because it's not that big of a deal. So there is some flexibility, there is some wiggle room, right? But if you're going 10 over, you're probably going to get pulled over. You're probably going to get a ticket. You're probably going to get a fine. Your insurance is going to go up. That's the penalty. That is enforcing the boundary because you did not respect the limits of what the speedway is. However, the rules are very different, right? If you're going 110 miles over the speed limit, the enforcing of the boundary is very different than when you're going just 10 over. Right now, your car is impounded. Now, your license is likely revoked. You might be going to jail. There's a possible heavy, heavy fine, right? So you have to decide how big of a deal this actually is to you. How much of an impact is this having on you? Or is this now a violation of trust for you? Right. So at some point in time, it sounds like you've already set a boundary with him. So instead of the silent treatment, right, we now have to engage in now actually enforcing, right? And one of the things I tell people to kind of structure what the boundary should look like and how to enforce. If you, I will statements, right? If you do this, or if you don't do this, I'm gonna have to separate, right? To show people how serious you are. Where that line is drawn, how you decide to enforce, that's up to you, right? I can't make that call because you know your own personal limits, right? You're the one that's experiencing this. No one else is, and no one else knows how you're feeling internally, right? But we want to continue, at least right now, we want to continue to have open lines of communication through this situation, because anytime we start to engage in the silent treatment, it has the potential of making matters worse. So thank you very much for writing in. Anyone else who has a question, make sure you send it in to justaskmatt@mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Again, that is justaskmatt@mattpfeiffercoaching.com. So make sure you keep that email 2 to 3 paragraphs max, and you're also very direct and to the point of what your question actually is. If it's too long, it's too lengthy, unfortunately, I will not be able to get to it. Thank you guys very much, and I will see you in the next video.